patch notes for the balance adjustments for 3 characters in. It looks like we're getting some buffs to Captain America, Storm, and Starlord. Join with me is Reminix. Say what's up, Reminix.
I'm buff.
You're buff? Okay. Now, you are a Captain America main, right?
I like Captain America. He's good.
Okay. And and you know this. I went as far to say is that Captain America is the worst character in the game before. Not the worst,
yeah, well, he plays well. He seems to really lack a game mode in which he excels.
That's what I was trying to say, because I was saying that they're all good, but boy, some characters just need a lot more attention, a lot more care, a lot more love. They're a little bit more frustrating to play. Is that accurate to say?
Right, because there's definitely more involved to making them work correctly.
Okay, so you have like a 9 million power Captain America.
Bazillion. You got to add the 0.
Yeah. You've got one of the craziest Captain Americas in the game, and what we were talking about, it looks like that there is. I'm looking at the kits, and I'm hearing from a lot of people that like a Storm main told me, he's like, I don't use any of these abilities. It looks like the buffs on these 3 characters were typically done on abilities that weren't getting used or they're underutilized, and that they're also guard break. So where do you want to start with Captain America? You want to start at the top with the ultimate skill?
I think why don't we just start with guard break and let's talk about what guard break, because I don't think people understand what guard break actually does. Talk about guard
break, yeah.
So guard break is basically it's a secondary control mechanism. When your guard is broken, you basically have no control of your character for a brief period of time. You have the ability to cancel if you have 2 of your dodge. You can break out of that guard break mechanism, but a lot of people exhaust that dodge. But more importantly, against NPCs, you're going to be able to stun them and do more damage and stop them from doing. You can interrupt ults, so it's going to be very important in the future for PvE content. It's also probably a neglected ability in PvP content, especially for these characters, that this has been their wheelhouse.
Okay, so on NPCs, like when you see the damage bar, there is a % meter to the far left, and as you hit the character, you see that it starts off 100 and you see it drop down to 0. When it drops down to 0, they hunker down on the ground, like they fall over, they hunch over, and then you see it build back up to 100%. And that's when you can do your ults, you can go crazy, you can do all your stuff, right?
Right. You basically have no fear of retaliation.
Okay, so that's what we're talking about, guard break. So the skill, the ultimate skill, impact reflection, improve the ultimate skill to grant debuff immunity while casting the ultimate skill. Is that going to be helpful?
Yeah, because that basically means that you can't be interrupted while you're doing it. So, the one quick way to have that countered was if you were debuffed, you could miss from certain. You can get blinded from like a clever Black Widow and stuff like that.
Okay, and unbreakable will, was that an ability you were using, or is that one now you're going to start looking into?
So on Cap, I used a lot of these for PvP because I was working on a guard break build when I step back a little bit, and so I think that's the idea. Is these things are kind of leaning into a lot of these. You'll see that I was using these, but these aren't DPS skills, right? Okay. So I have a DPS build. These were always in my PvP build.
Okay, and there was also a change to the flying in the Dimension Duel, whatever, right? And is that making, because Captain America's, I felt bad. I mean, you just get pinged by Doctor Strange, they fly the ceiling, you could lose. They changed that. Are you finding that Captain America is doing better now in Dimension Duel?
I mean, this is going to help him immensely.
I was going to say, I still feel like it was rough. Like, I felt like whenever I saw Captain America, it was a free win most of the time.
Well, okay.
Most of the time. Like, I mean, it was like, I'm not afraid of Captain America's like I'm afraid of, like, other, like Captain Marvel. Oh my God, Captain Marvel is like, wow, or Spider-Man sometimes. Anyway, so Unbreakable will, basically this boosts the guard break mechanic on that. So that is great on all 4 of them, correct?
Right. Yeah. So basically I think it winds up being like a high is, I think I want to say like 4% and highest is like 5% per hit.
Okay.
But remember, when you're flying, you have half your guard gauge. So it basically means you're easier to knock out of the air.
Restate that, because I feel like most people don't know that. Like I see people flying around the ceiling on a Mega War, and I'm always dropping down to the ground. And explain why that's important. It's for guard break, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, the idea is that if you're in the air and somebody hits you, you can get guard broken and drop down. You effectively have half your current guard gauge when you're flying in the air. So if you're at 70%, you fly in the air, you're at 35. And so it'll be important because now you're controllable.
And then I just want to back up within it. So when I get one shot by a guided missiles by a very big Iron Man, does guard break even matter?
No, I think that what matters is having your dodge skill and your awareness to hopefully get out of there. But sometimes.
Correct. So I'm not sure how important guard is still. I mean, I know they're trying to boost it, and I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
I'm going to break all this down at the end because I think I can probably give you a summation on this. But so I think so. We're looking at the Sentinel of Liberty. I think there's some case for case uses, reporting for duty, shield ricochet. Again, a lot of these for me were more team play skills that I can use in a team aspect. They were actually used to set up my alliance for some kills, like the high speed spin. I think you guys have seen me use that, and reporting for duty with the shield slicer. These are actually good.
Okay. So you were using Sentinel of Liberty, and this is just a bonus guard break, extra damage onto the guard break. Okay. Reporting for duty. Guard break skill of all masters were increased by 1 level. Were you using a reporting for duty?
Yes.
Okay. So this is a positive change. It seems small. What my hope for Captain America is that this new game mode rewards Captain America's for team play. We'll have to see, right?
Right. And we can talk about that because the dev notes are out. So.
Okay. And then Starlord right here. Now I've not gone deep into Starlord. It looks like that the condition for getting the boost is reduced from 8 stacks to 7 stacks. Were people using this? Is this more of like a raid boss type mechanic?
So it most of the time, especially even in PvP, getting those debuffs were important. And if you dodge out of them, that they could drop. And more importantly, as you're dodging your opponent's skills and looking for openings, it was really hard to do this. I think this is probably leaning more towards the PvE environment, but I think it has some use in PvP.
Okay, because that's the way I looked at this. Is like, this seems like because I've seen some Starlords put up some monster damage on raid bosses. And because they get the stacks off, and again, I roll into a duel and I get one shot, or I one shot somebody with guided missiles. Does this even matter when there's abilities that can one shot players?
Well, we'll talk about that later on. We can probably do a PvP video later. There's some stuff to that.
So this is a move in the right direction. I feel like Starlord was completely playable before, but this does help, right?
So this is going to improve his utilization in group mechanics. The idea that he's contributing more to the guard break with a lot of his abilities. His ult was already very powerful, and have the ability to track during the skill, because sometimes things would just miss.
Okay.
This is going to be, I think, for the next PvE content that's coming out.
I think so too. And then lastly, we've got Storm, and Storm to me just it felt like a high skill level player would probably prefer playing Storm. Being out of position is bad. Knowing when to use her abilities, not getting long animations and being relatively squishy was kind of problematic. Will this help on that?
So the idea is with increased damage and some of these cast time reduced, it's kind of a big deal, because I think those are some of the where the sweet spot for some of these skills really was and thinking about the fact that a lot of these are AoE damage, and so I think you're going to see her become a preferred character in some of these announced game modes.
Okay, and because before this announcement, the preferred character over Storm, in my opinion, was Doctor Strange. Do you see Storm moving into that utility that Doctor Strange has in a certain level?
Yeah, so it's interesting because they all kind of bring like an interesting feature. Doctor Strange is not going anywhere because he provides that unique the debuff to single target. But yeah, we'll see. I think it's going to be pretty good to theory craft. What 4 team are really going to help you push into this invasion mode.
Okay, and then so that is all interesting. Now I just want to double down on this idea that that all characters are meant to be relatively balanced. The developers are willing to make adjustments to characters as they see fit. And these were the three characters that were relatively low on my list, if there is a list, but things change all the time. The one thing I want to say is they didn't nerf anybody. Are you surprised they didn't nerf Iron Man?
No, I'm
bit?
not. I'm not surprised. One thing is,
it feels bad when they nerf, right? And they're willing to do it. They nerfed before, right?
Well, they adjusted, and because the things were like obviously not working as intended. That's a different story. However, they rebalance, and so that's what a good MMO does. Is they look at the balance of the game as players discover new ways, and they make adjustments. This isn't like you bought Storm, you have Storm. Your Storm forever is the bottom of the barrel. Whether or not you thought that way or not, that's the way the perception is. They're going to make some balances so that people want to play and enjoy characters that they invest time or money in.
So are you excited about your Captain America?
Yeah, I'm really excited about these upcoming game modes and some of these changes. Like I really feel like this is a living game. There's going to be constant new stuff coming out. What they already announced, a level cap.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about guard break, because I really want to sum up some things.
Yeah, let's wrap it up with guard break, and we'll just talk about that. Yeah.
Yeah, so the biggest thing about guard break mechanic is we all know what it does against bosses, because we deplete the meter, they hunch over. But what it does against players is it allows things like stun. So once you guard break a character, now you can continue to crowd control them. So once they're, if their dodge gauge is depleted, you can loop stuns into knockdowns. Until they're guard broken, none of these effects can happen. Mm-hmm. So a lot of these skills where it says knock character up into the air or knock characters down, they all required guard break, with the exception of things like Captain America or Captain Marvel's ult, etc. These all required guard break to happen. So now that you're going to have this happening on a larger scale, it means more control in every type of game mode. So these are going to be characters in a mega war. You're going to see them guard breaking and then adding control. So those folks that have control elements that may not have the damage like Iron Man, they're going to be able to add their control elements to this and probably build more of a support scenario. I think these are what it is this is more of a support mechanic to help your allies land debuffs, control the battlefield, and win.
Yeah, and I do like that idea. And you kind of mentioned PvP, and then we'll wrap it up with this. Something that kind of occurred to me when we were talking is like, it seems to me that the PV matches are over pretty quickly, and sometimes it's a one-hit kill. And the matches that I prefer the most are the ones that are a little more drawn out. I'm trying to avoid Black Widow's snipe. I'm trying to actually land an ability on Spider-Man while he's dodging like crazy. And those are the ones that I remember and enjoy. What if they doubled the HP on every character? Would that help that? I mean, it seems to me that all the characters are flimsy and the matches are super short. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, effectively gear and levels are going to do that. You're going to see that will probably happen. And so right now, I think we're just, especially on a mega flight, we're kind of at that point where people are in their end game builds. Okay. And I don't think that's something you're seeing across all servers.
Okay, so that maybe it's just my experience recently. It seems to me like I'd say a third of the matches are over instantly where I win, a third of the matches are over instantly where I lose, and then a third of them are these like actual matches where I enjoy all of them, but they're like, I'm actually like, oh man, if I just would have did this move differently, if I would have pushed this button a little earlier, I would have won, or, oh, I got that lucky hit and it crit and I won. It's kind of interesting. Like, it's like where actually like the skill comes into play.
Yeah, and I think that's the idea is we're also, and I think you'll probably talk to some other guys here, but we've actually gotten some more information and tested some more of the other stats. And I think there's stats that'll help counter that. That people just aren't leaning into right now.
Right, because we're guessing on what the weak stats are. We're guessing, right? We don't know. Like there's certain stats that we feel are like garbage stats, and maybe they're not.
Well, and what's going to happen is the meta shifts based on when certain, once people adopt more of one stat, a stat like the defense pierce becomes more important.
Yeah. So the meta, because we don't know what is better, defense pierce or like max damage. I mean, most people like totally know that total damage is better than those two, but it's like was max damage. Max damage is the one that compresses the variance of the damage toward the high side, right? So it is more total damage, but like, what does that number mean in compared to defense pierce, right? It's right. Very strange. We just don't know. We're guessing at this point.
Yeah, but stay tuned. And so, like I said, these skills right here, these adjustments I think are important, especially with knowing what's coming. You could see that now with Cap's taunt improvement and some of the way that these skills operate. that this is definitely going to be where you're going to assemble your elite squad to challenge ever increasing content, and I'm excited by it. Hopefully this gives folks a chance to get bragging rights and justify the investment of time and gear spent.
All right, well, stay tuned. Big patch coming. Come hang out with us tomorrow. We're gonna play it. Looks like a lot of good stuff happening for this game. I'm very excited. Are you excited?
I am.
All right, guys. Thanks for watching. Keep on gaming.
Yay!
What? What?
I'm a cat main.